Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
From makeshift studios deep in the heart of stately Maine Manor, I am your host, Joey Harris, and this is the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. You can follow the show on Twitter at Cup of Joe Pod. You can email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. And folks, my post office chronicles continue. They were pushing me to use this machine, in the lobby, and now it's down half the time and you can't even use it. So I'm having to go in there, but they're not saying anything to me because they know that the machine is down half the time anyway. And I'm going the other day, I get out of my truck and I'm in the first parking space. It just happened to open up. And at my post office, the post office is as you go into the parking lot is on the right. It's a long group of buildings. There's no parking on that side. So it's all parking on the left until you get around to the other side of the building. Then you can park on both sides, kind of. But it's slotted parking on the left at a diagonal. So then you back out and you just exit around the building. So the other day I happened to get the first slot. Timed it right. I get out with my packages. This car comes around the corner and pulls into the lot. Two people in there, they start playing charades with me. I don't know how else to say it, and I'm not good at parking lot charades, apparently. One of them gestured with her hand, the driver, to the slot next to mine, which you can clearly see there's a car in it. And so I said no, and that frustrated her deeply. And so the other woman, her passenger, she starts gesturing to that second parking spot as well, and there's still a car in it. And so I said no, and she gets incredibly frustrated, and so I throw up my hands and go into the parking, or into the post office rather, because I don't know what they want. There's a car in that space already and it's not mine, and they can see I'm just getting out. I'm not ready to leave. Now, if they wanted to block the entrance to the post office and wait until I do my business and come out, that's fine. But there was a line that day. It took me at least 5 minutes. And so I still don't know what they wanted. But apparently it was to park in that second space. And like I said, there's already a car there. And we all know that two objects cannot occupy the same space at the same time. But regardless of that, we continue Project 45, and today we land in 1979 as we take a look at the WWF at Madison Square Garden. The WWF on MSG took place on December the 17th, 1979 from Madison Square Garden in New York City. At that point, I'm less than a month away from turning 2. My birthday is January 16th. And this was December 17th. Presented in the most complete form possible due to original production technical difficulties. We start out with our WWE old school intro. Our first contest is Dick Bulldog Brower versus Larry Zbyszko. Howard Finkel wishes us a very pleasant good evening and welcomes us to MSG. He introduces all of the New York State Athletic Commission officials and the referee. Vince McMahon is the announcer for the evening. The bell rings and they lock up, back to the ropes and break. Brower headbutts Zbyszko as they break. He then hits a couple of hard right hands. He kicks Zbyszko down, hits him with a knee, and snapmares him. He then picks Zbyszko up and slams him down by his hair. Referee Dick Kroll gets Brower away and admonishes him about his behavior. Brower goes over and kicks Zbyszko, apparently not caring what Kroll thinks. He then lifts him up and slams him down by the hair again. He then stomps Zbyszko. The Zbyszko stomp did not catch on the way the Garvin or the Orton stomps did, but the kids in Bristol still do the Bristol stomp. But I digress again. Then he gets a headbutt on Zbyszko. Zbyszko gets back to his feet and tries to break the hold, only to be yanked back down to the canvas by Brower. He goes back to the headlock. Zbyszko gets back to his feet and breaks the hold. And again, Brower yanks him back down by the hair. He gets Zbyszko in a headlock again and swears to the referee that he didn't yank the hair. There are some annoying horns or whistles that someone has in the background that keep going off, and it is very distracting. Zbyszko is now struggling to get back to his feet. Zbyszko counters into a hammerlock. Brower with a back elbow to break the hold. Brower with a right hand that Zbyszko ducks and comes back with a series of right hands of his own. Brower backing away and begging off. Zbyszko with a series of right hands, and Brower headbutts him down. Zbyszko on his knees trying to get up, and Brower hitting him with a series of right hands. More knees and punches knock Zbyszko down. Brower picks Zbyszko up and punches him in the face, and then hits a series of body shots. Brower with a side headlock, and Zbyszko down on one knee struggling to get out of the move. Zbyszko reverses the hold into a hammerlock. Brower hits Zbyszko on the side of the head with an elbow, and they go back and forth in the middle of the ring. Zbyszko with a series of rights to Brower's midsection, and knocks Brower down in a corner. Then Zbyszko with knees to Brower while he is in the corner. He backs off when the referee gets to a 4 count, and Brower holding the side of his head. Zbyszko goes back to stomping Brower and gets him in a side headlock. Brower pushes off. Zbyszko comes back with a shoulder block that knocks both men down. Double count going. Both up at 5, and Brower goes for a scoop slam, and Zbyszko falls on him and gets the pin. The crowd loves it. This is babyface Zbyszko, who's about to go into the program with Bruno, where he turns on Bruno and has the big feud of his career with Bruno in 1980. Japanese Tag Team Championship match. Riki Choshu and Seiji Sakaguchi versus Bad News Alan Koji and JoJo Andrews. The future Bad News Brown making an appearance here. Koji also has hair here. The referee is looking over Koji's padded right hand, and he is objecting to it, saying that he heard it in a match and needs to have the glove or padding on. Choshu and Andrews start. The bell rings and they lock up. Back to a corner. Break clean. They lock up again, and Choshu with a hammerlock. Andrews gets to the ropes. They break. Lock up again, and Choshu with a side headlock. Into a takeover. Choshu keeps the headlock on, and Andrews gets back to his feet. Koji tagged in. He kicks Choshu and punches him several times in the midsection. He snapmares Choshu and drops a knee on him. He gets a 1 count, but Choshu quickly gets the arm up. Koji with a throat thrust and an arm to the back. Koji with a scoop slam. Another 1 count and a quick kick out by Choshu. They lock up again. Choshu with a side headlock and Sakaguchi tagged in. He attacks Koji with a series of chops, then a snapmare to Koji. Sakaguchi with a rear chin lock to Koji. He lifts Koji up, and Sakaguchi with a knee to the face of Koji. Koji comes back with a rake to the face of Sakaguchi, then an uppercut to Sakaguchi. Koji with a judo strike to Sakaguchi, and Sakaguchi down to the mat. Good use of the judo there by Koji. Koji with a front face lock and tags Andrews in. He kicks Sakaguchi in the midsection and punches Sakaguchi several times. Headbutt toss. More punches, kicks, and headbutts. They lock up again by the ropes, and Choshu tag back in. Sakaguchi with an Irish whip, and Choshu with a drop kick. Choshu with a scoop slam, and he gets a 2 count. Choshu with a snap mare. Into a chin lock. Koji getting mad at the crowd while on the apron yelling at them. Sakaguchi tag back in. Choshu with an Irish whip, and Sakaguchi gets Andrews in a sleeper when he comes back. Andrews gets to the ropes. Sakaguchi breaks the hold. Snapmares Andrews and gets him in a headlock. Sakaguchi rams his knee into Andrews' back several times. Koji tagged in. Test of strength. Koji with an armbar takedown. Sakaguchi counters with a head scissors. Koji fighting to get out of the hold. Koji rolls over and gets his foot on the bottom rope to break the hold. Koji with a waist lock into a German suplex. But Sakaguchi tagged as he was going over, and Choshu comes in while Koji is trying to pin Sakaguchi. Choshu kicking Koji while he is down. Koji is trying to get up, but Choshu grabs his leg and it stings it backwards, and then Choshu goes and punches Andrews on the apron. Back and forth between Choshu and Koich. Koich knocks Choshu down and runs Choshu into Andrews' boot. Koich and Andrews double-team Choshu in their corner. Koich with a big right hand to knock Choshu down. He then runs his boot across Choshu's face. Koich with a front face lock, and Andrews tagged in. Andrews attacks Choshu from behind while Koich was still holding him. Andrews with a throat thrust to Choshu. Andrews pushes Choshu back to the corner and gets admonished by the referee, allowing Koich to attack Choshu in the corner. Sakaguchi tries to come in, only to be cut off by the referee, allowing the heels the opportunity to double-team Choshu in the corner. Andrews and Koich use the tag rope, wrapping it around Choshu's throat. They continue the attack as the referee becomes distracted by Sakaguchi continuing to come out of his corner to protest. Andrews with a couple of headbutts to knock Choshu down to the mat. Andrews goes to drop an elbow, but Choshu moves at the last minute. Choshu stomping on Andrews. Choshu runs Andrews into the corner, turnbuckle, and tags Sakaguchi in. He open hand slaps Andrews several times, then a snapmare to Andrews. Sakaguchi with a backbreaker. He gets a 2 count. Sakaguchi runs Andrews into the mat face first a couple of times. Sakaguchi runs Andrews into Choshu in the corner, who buries his shoulder into Andrews. Choshu tagged in and stomps Andrews several times. He hits Andrews with a series of forearms. A knee lift knocks Andrews to the mat. Choshu Irish whips Andrews to the corner, tags Sakaguchi in. Sakaguchi comes in and grabs Andrews as Koich threatens to come in and interfere. Sakaguchi with a knee lift to Andrews. Sakaguchi with an Irish whip, and Sakaguchi with a flying knee to knock Andrews down. Sakaguchi gets a Boston Crab on. Koich trying to come in, but gets hit with a drop kick from Choshu. Andrews gives up. Koich trying to fight Sakaguchi after the bell. Koich then helps Andrews out of the ring. Johnny Rodz versus Mike Graham. Rodz trying to fight the ref as he checks Rodz's boots. The referee goes over the instructions with both wrestlers. The bell rings. Rodz distracting and taking his time, raising his fist and yelling out to avoid locking up. Rodz says he wants to inspect Graham's boot. The referee lifts it up and Rodz attacks Graham. Rodz grabs Graham and rams him head first into the turnbuckle. The Graham ram probably didn't get a lot of play like the Zbyszko stomp. Rodz attacking Graham with shots to the head and Graham trying to fight back. Graham comes back with a scoop slam to Rodz. Rodz complaining about a close fist to the referee. They lock up again and Rodz gets Graham in the corner and headbutts him. Another headbutt knocks Graham down. Graham with a single leg takedown into a leg lock. Rodz with a rake to the face to get out of the move. He yanks Graham down by the hair and drops a knee on Graham. Rodz gets Graham up and delivers a knee to the face of Graham. He then attacks and chops Graham's back. Rodz with a snapmare. Rodz drops a knee on Graham. Rodz picks Graham up and delivers a headbutt to Graham. Rodz with a headlock and Graham counters with a fireman carry takedown. Rodz with a right hand as they get back up. Rodz with a hip lock into a front face lock. Graham with a sit out. They lock up and go back to a corner. Break clean and they lock up again in the center of the ring. Graham with a wrist lock. Rodz comes back with a shot to the stomach. Then a series of right hand punches to Graham's face. A series of punches and forearms to Graham, who doesn't fall down. Rodz with an eye rake. Rodz with a scoop slam to Graham. He then kicks Graham in the head. He chokes Graham on the ropes for a 3 count and then snaps Graham back. He then goes back to choking Graham on the ropes and delivering a forearm to the back. Graham coming back as they exchange blows and Graham with a scoop slam. But Rodz kicks out before the referee gets down to count. Rodz grabs an ankle and is trying to get Graham down. Rodz appears to be biting Graham on the leg. He keeps breaking when the referee counts, but then goes right back to it. They get back to their feet, and Rodz biting Graham's arm. Rodz drapes Graham's arm over the top turnbuckle. He wraps it around the rope and pulls the arm. Rodz with a forearm, and then they battle for position on the mat. They get back to the ropes with neither man getting the advantage. They get back to their feet and lock up again. Rodz with a strike to the face and a headbutt. Back to the corner, and Rodz with a series of right-hand punches to Graham. He then headbutts Graham again. Rodz with a corner whip and follows it up with a knee to Graham. Another corner whip, but Graham moves when Raj comes in with a knee. Graham gets a figure 4 on. Raj tries to fight it, but eventually gives up. The crowd cheers and the referee assists Raj with getting out of the hold. Hulk Hogan with Fred Blassie versus Ted DiBiase. This is Hogan's Madison Square Garden debut, and of course before DiBiase was the multi-million-dollar man in Hulk Hogan vernacular. DiBiase is also clean-shaven here. Vince McMahon calls Hogan a big monster on commentary. The referee checks both men and tries to get Blassie out of the ring. The bell rings and they circle each other. They lock up. Hogan pushes DiBiase back to a corner. They circle each other again. DiBiase with a waist lock into a full Nelson. Hogan powering out of the full Nelson and breaks it. They circle each other again. Test of strength, and Hogan pushes DiBiase off into a corner. Slow-paced match. They circle each other again. They lock up. Hogan with a waistlock takedown. DiBiase with a sit-out to get out of the move. Hogan is livid and rushes DiBiase, who arm drags Hogan twice. The crowd cheers and Hogan rolls to the outside to regroup. Hogan holding his back and complaining that DiBiase pulled his tights. He gets back in the ring and the crowd is booing him. Hogan again telling the referee that DiBiase pulled his tights. They lock up again. DiBiase with a side headlock. Hogan trying to push off, but DiBiase won't let go of the hold. Hogan finally does push off, comes back, and Hogan with a shoulder block. DiBiase tries it again, and Hogan pushes him out of the ring, and he falls on the floor. Hogan posing in the ring while the referee counts. DiBiase struggling to get back to the ring and finally gets up on the apron. Hogan with a knee to DiBiase to knock him off the apron. Hogan taunting and kissing his left bicep. DiBiase again gets up on the apron and knocked off by Hogan. Again, Hogan taunting the crowd, and I wouldn't be upset if he stuffed that whistle down the throat of whomever is blowing it. But I digress. DiBiase gets back up on the apron, and the referee is keeping Hogan back. Hogan suplexes DiBiase into the ring. Hogan with a leg drop. Since the power of Hulkamania wasn't a thing yet, Hogan only gets a 2 count. Hogan can't believe it. Hogan with a scoop slam. He drops an elbow on DiBiase. Another 2 count. Hogan picks DiBiase up, elbows him in the back again, and Irish whips him. Hogan with a back elbow. Hogan with a headlock and DiBiase struggling to get out of it. The bell rings, but the referee is waving it off. DiBiase raises his arms, and the crowd comes to life. He gets to his knees and then to his feet. Hogan forces him back down to the mat. Hogan wants the referee to check DiBiase again. DiBiase's hand does not fall down. DiBiase gets back to his feet and struggles over and drops down to run Hogan's head into the turnbuckle. The crowd cheers, but DiBiase falls back to the mat exhausted. Hogan misses an elbow drop. DiBiase with a series of head and body shots as the fans are getting into the match. DiBiase with an Irish whip and a drop kick to Hogan. Then another drop kick to Hogan. DiBiase with a corner whip and drives his shoulder into Hogan's midsection. DiBiase with another corner whip, but Hogan moves and DiBiase hits the corner post and falls to the apron. He is lying there motionless. Hogan comes over and grabs DiBiase by the hair. Hogan with a backbreaker. He picks DiBiase up in a bear hug. The bell rings and the crowd boos Hogan winning. Howard Finkel announces Hulk Hogan the winner to a chorus of boos. Boy, things would change in a few years, wouldn't they? WWF Heavyweight Championship return Texas Death Match. Bob Backlund with Arnold Skaaland versus Bobby Duncan with Lou Albano. Backlund gets a good reaction coming out. Vince McMahon calls Arnold Skaaland perhaps the most successful manager in wrestling because he managed Bruno Sammartino and Bob Backlund for so long, probably. Howard Finkel announces WWF President Hisashi Shinma, who has the WWF title and holds it up high. He then shows the title to Duncan and then Backlund. Shinma gets out of the ring and the bell rings. Finkel announces the match, the managers, and the participants. Albano trying to rile the crowd up with his antics. The referee checks both competitors. They slowly circle each other. They finally lock up. Backlund throws Duncan up against the ropes. They lock up again. Backlund throws Duncan into the corner. Duncan comes firing out of the corner, but Backlund doesn't back down. Duncan complains to the referee that Backlund pulled his hair. They lock up, drive to the ropes. Duncan with a body shot. Backlund with a right hand. Duncan lunges at Backlund, who ducks and takes Duncombe down with a single leg takedown. Duncombe tries it again, and again Backlund with the single leg. Duncombe back up, and another lock up, and drive back to the ropes. Backlund backs Duncombe off. Another lock up, and Backlund with a side headlock drives back to the ropes, and Duncombe with a knee to the stomach. Duncombe with a forearm shot, and Backlund comes back with one of his own. Backlund with a knee lift, and a double ear stomp with Duncombe between Backlund's legs. They back away from each other. They lock up. Backlund with the side headlock. Duncombe trying to break the hold. Duncombe goes to push Backlund off, but Backlund keeps the hold on. Duncombe goes down to his knees, stealing the hold. Backlund intensifies the hold. Duncombe again tries to push off, but Backlund again keeps the hold on. Duncombe now on the mat, stealing the hold. Duncombe gets back to his knees. Duncombe gets to and through the ropes, but Backlund drags him back through the ropes to the inside. The referee asking Duncombe if he wants to give up. Backlund cranks the hold on. Duncombe gets back to his feet. Duncombe pushes off. Backlund comes back with a shoulder block. Backlund with a drop kick. He follows that up with a side headlock takeover. Gets a 1 count. Then a 2 count. Duncombe gets back to his knees, then to his feet. He drives Backlund to the ropes and drives the knee into his midsection. Duncombe with a side headlock, and Backlund pushes off. Duncombe with a shoulder block. Duncombe off the ropes. Backlund waiting for him and hits Duncombe with a scoop slam. Backlund with a drop kick. Backlund with a side headlock takeover. Gets a 2 count. Duncombe, still in the hold, gets back to his feet. Duncombe pushes off. He hits Backlund with a back elbow and both men go down. Both back up, and Backlund with a forearm to Duncombe. It knocks Duncombe to the ground. Backlund with a side headlock takeover. He gets a 2 count. Duncombe reaches over and forces Backlund over into a pinning predicament for a 2 count. Backlund back over and Duncombe with another twist for another 2 count. Duncombe gets to his feet while still in the hold. Backlund cranking on the hold. Backlund forces Duncombe down with a shot from Backlund's knee, and Duncombe falls to the mat. Backlund with a leg drop. He gets a 1 count. Backlund goes back to the side headlock. Duncombe with a knee lift to Backlund. Duncombe throws Backlund into a turnbuckle. Duncombe with a headlock and a right hand to Backlund to knock him back down to the mat. Duncombe choking Backlund down on the mat. He stops for a minute, then goes back to choking Backlund. Backlund trying to find a counter. Backlund fighting it, but starting to fade. Duncombe drives a knee into Backlund and gets a 2 count. Backlund with a backdrop to get out of the hold. Both wrestlers back to their feet. Backlund reverses a corner whip and monkey flips Duncombe out of the corner. Backlund follows it up with a forearm smash and corner whips Duncombe again. He goes to monkey flip Duncombe again, but Duncombe holds onto the ropes, and Backlund goes flying back and hits his head. Duncombe gets a 2 count. Duncombe with a side headlock. Backlund lifts Duncombe up and hits a back suplex. He gets a 2 count. Then another 2 count. Backlund with a pile driver to Duncombe. Backlund gets a 2 count. Backlund with an Irish whip. He drops his head early, and Duncombe comes back with a kick to the face. Duncombe hits a backbreaker on Backlund. He gets a 2 count. Duncombe goes for a scoop slam, but Backlund slips behind Duncombe. Backlund with a roll up for a 2 count. Duncombe picks Backlund up and bulldogs him to the mat. He gets a 2 count. Duncombe drops a knee on Backlund. Gets a 1 count. Duncombe picks Backlund up and hits another bulldog. Gets another 2 count. Duncombe with a knee to the face. He then throws Backlund outside. Backlund sitting on the floor and appearing dazed. Backlund leans up against the apron and Duncombe kicks him from the face. Then another kick to the face. Backlund gets up on the apron and Duncombe runs him head first into the ring post, and Backlund goes flying out onto the floor and over the barricade. Backlund on the floor and holding his back. Backlund comes back over the guardrail to ringside. Backlund gets up on the apron and Duncombe comes over and punches him. He then kicks Backlund off of the apron and back to the floor. Backlund gets back on the apron and hits Duncombe with a shoulder block as he comes over. Backlund sunset flips Duncombe and gets a 2 count. Duncombe with a kick and a corner whip. Backlund jumps over a Duncombe charge and gets a sunset flip on Duncombe to get the pin. The crowd goes crazy for Backlund. He lifts the WWF Championship up high. He gets on the mic and says, "Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year." He then says, "I love all of you. Thank you." The next match is the Japanese Heavyweight Championship. Antonio Inoki versus the Great Hussein. Hussein is the future Iron Sheik. So in 3 consecutive matches, you have 3 men involved in those matches who would be the only 3 men who would hold the WWF Championship for 10 years. Hussein says, "I don't like American wrestlers on the mic." He says some other things, but doesn't talk directly into the mic so it isn't really heard. He then attacks Inoki. He runs him headfirst into the turnbuckle and then hits him with the right hand. He then chops him a couple of times in the throat. The bell finally rings as Hussein hits Inoki with the forearm to the back. Inoki comes back with a kick to the stomach and a series of right hands to the face. Inoki with a scoop slam. Inoki chokes Hussein on the top rope and then chokes him with Hussein's own headdress. He then tears the headdress before going back to choking Hussein with it. The referee gets it away from Inoki. Inoki grabs the headdress back and rips it again. He picks Hussein up, puts him in the corner, puts the headdress around his neck, and tosses him out of the corner. Inoki ripping the headdress to shreds. He then throws it out to the crowd. He comes over to Hussein, who kicks Inoki in the stomach. Hussein with a side headlock. Inoki pushes off. Hussein comes back with a shoulder block. Inoki hip tosses Hussein off the ropes. Inoki with a series of arm drags into an armbar on Hussein. Hussein gets up to his knees and then to his feet. Hussein pushes off. They crisscross and Inoki then hits a hip lock. Then another arm drag to Hussein and back to the armbar. Hussein again gets back to his knees and then to his feet. Hussein pushes off. Hussein with a scoop slam. Hussein off the ropes but misses an elbow drop. Hussein goes up for a head scissors, but Inoki catches his legs and gets a leg lock on. Hussein gets up, runs Inoki into a turnbuckle, then delivers a thrust to Inoki's throat. Hussein with an Irish whip and a backdrop. He gets a 2 count. Hussein with a snapmare into a headlock. The referee is warning him that it's turning into a choke as an Iran sucks chant goes out. Inoki trying to get back to his feet. He does and breaks the hold. Hussein gets Inoki back down into a headlock. Inoki gets to one knee. Inoki trying to power his way out of the hold. He flips Hussein over and then hits a drop kick. They trade shots and then Inoki with several kicks to Hussein. He knocks Hussein down and gets a 1 count. Hussein with a face rake. Hussein with an Irish whip and a drop kick. He gets a 2 count. Hussein with an abdominal stretch. Inoki works around and reverses the hold. Hussein grabs a handful of hair to get out of the hold. Double count going, but both get up on the 3 count. Hussein with a side headlock. Inoki pushes off. They collide in the middle of the ring and both men down. Another double count going. Hussein up and gets a suplex on Inoki. Gets a 2 count. Hussein tries for another suplex and Inoki with a reversal. Inoki drops his leg on Hussein and Hulk Hogan is very concerned in the back that Bob Backlund and now Antonio Inoki have used his hole. He gets a 2 count. Hussein with a gut-wrench suplex. Gets another 2 count. Hussein with a chop. Hussein with an Irish whip and a backdrop that Inoki turns into a sunset flip. He gets a 2 count, but Hussein kicks out. Inoki turns it around into a version of the Scorpion Deathlock. He is cranking into it, and Hussein is fighting the pain. He then lifts Hussein up into a bow and arrow, but Hussein breaks the hold. While the referee is checking on Inoki, Hussein loads the boot up. He grabs Inoki, takes him over to the corner, puts his boot on the turnbuckle, and goes to drive Inoki into it, but Inoki blocks it and gets Hussein in a single leg takedown and works on getting the boot off. Hussein kicks off with the other boot. Inoki with another single leg takedown and goes back to working on the boot. The crowd comes to life for this, and Inoki gets the boot off and holds it up to the roar of the crowd. Hussein loads the other boot up and kicks Inoki in the stomach with it. Hussein picks his other boot up and grabs Inoki and brings him over to the turnbuckle and runs Inoki into the boot. He then rams Inoki's forehead into the boot. The referee checks on Inoki, who is bleeding. Hussein hits Inoki with the boot again. The referee goes over to Hussein to admonish him and take the boot away, allowing Inoki to hit Hussein with an enziguri to get the pin. Hussein gets the boot away from the ref, knocks the ref out, and attacks Inoki with it. He then attacks another referee who comes in to stop him. Hussein then leaves to a chorus of boos. You can then tell it's 1979 as we have the next match, an NWA World's Heavyweight Championship match. Harley Race versus Dusty Rhodes. The referee checks both men, Rhodes taunting Race and getting the crowd fired up. They start to circle each other and Rhodes bobbing and weaving. The referee had not finished checking them, so he does that. The bell rings and they circle each other and Rhodes stalking Race and being very aggressive. Race backs to a corner. They lock up and back to the ropes. Race with the left hand and Rhodes comes back with a series of left and rights. He then does a throat thrust and Race falls to the canvas. The crowd loves it and Rhodes points to the crowd. They lock up again and Race drives Rhodes back to the ropes and gets a side headlock on. Rhodes pushes off. Race comes back with a shoulder block. Race runs the ropes and Rhodes catches him in a backdrop. Rhodes drops an elbow. He gets a 2 count. Race saying that the referee is counting too fast. They lock up again and Rhodes with a side headlock. Race pushes back to the ropes and Rhodes breaks the hold. Race hits a shoulder block on Rhodes. Race goes for a suplex, but Rhodes slips behind and hits an atomic drop on Race. Race falls down and Rhodes hits another elbow drop. Rhodes goes for a cover, but Race has his feet on the ropes. Rhodes with a double stomp to Race. The referee admonishes Rhodes and keeps him away. Race back up. They lock up and Rhodes with a side headlock. Race pushes off. Race goes for a scoop slam and Rhodes falls on him. He gets a 2 count. Race back up and woozy, so he backs to a corner. They lock up again. Back to the ropes. Break and Race with a knee to the stomach of Rhodes. Rhodes falls to his knees. Rhodes back up and Race hits him with another knee to the stomach. Race goes for his falling headbutt move, but Rhodes moves. Rhodes drops another elbow. Rhodes with the front face lock to Race on the mat. Race struggling to get out of the hold, but won't give up. Rhodes cranking on the hold. Race gets up on his knees and then up to his feet. Race goes for a suplex, but Rhodes blocks it and hits a suplex of his own. Rhodes misses an elbow drop when Race moves. Race then misses a headbutt. Rhodes gets a front face lock on the fallen Race. Race is trying to roll over onto his back. Rhodes trying to roll him over as well, trying to get him in a pinning predicament. Rhodes gets a 2 count. Race on his side trying to get out of the hold. Race gets back up and drives Rhodes to the corner. Rhodes breaks the hold. Race drives his shoulder into Rhodes, then another one. Race with a stiff right hand to Rhodes. Rhodes reverses a corner whip. Race goes up and over the ropes to the outside. Rhodes goes out after Race. The referee stops Rhodes while he is still on the apron. Rhodes goes out and grabs Race. He drops an elbow on Race. Both wrestlers get back into the ring. Rhodes hits a delayed pile driver on Race. Another 2 count for Rhodes as Race gets his feet on the ropes. Race gets to his knees and Rhodes hits him with another elbow. Race drives his head in Rhodes' stomach. Rhodes doubles over and Race with another headbutt to the top of Rhodes' head. Rhodes falls to his knees. Race with another falling headbutt. Race stomps Rhodes in the head, then a devastating knee drop. He gets a 1 count. Rhodes trying to start mounting a comeback. He gets back to his feet and hits Race with some moves. He winds up and hits Race with an elbow. Race falls back to the mat. Rhodes gets a 2 count. Race with another diving headbutt, then another diving headbutt to Rhodes on the mat. Race with a suplex. He hits a headbutt from the second rope on Rhodes. He then drops a knee on Rhodes' head. Rhodes rolls out to the apron and Race comes over and rams Rhodes' head on the apron. Rhodes back up and he is bleeding. He gets back inside and Race punches him back to the apron. Race rams Rhodes head first into the corner post and he falls off the apron out onto the floor. The referee counts. Rhodes gets back in the ring. Race attacks him in the corner with some left hands. Rhodes comes back with some elbows and a series of right hands. Then a knee lift by Rhodes to knock Race down. The referee trying to take a look at Rhodes' head to check the cuts, but Rhodes gestures him away and keeps going after Race. Race with a side headlock. Rhodes pushes off. Rhodes with a double axe handle and both men are down. Race tries to get up and he stumbles out to the apron and falls down again. The referee goes out and checks Rhodes and signals for the bell. Race wins by referee stoppage and Rhodes trying to get back in the ring to keep going. Rhodes angry and a loud bullshit chant goes out. Race grabs the NWA title and hits Rhodes on the head with it. Rhodes gets up and kicks Race to the apron and out onto the floor. Rhodes leaves dejected, and the crowd boos when Howard Finkel announces Race as the winner. WWF Intercontinental Championship match. Pat Patterson versus Dominic DeNucci. The referee checking both men. The bell rings and they are still taking their stuff off. They circle each other and lock up. Drive to the ropes and break. They lock up again and get back to the ropes and break again. They lock up again. DeNucci with a side headlock. Into a hammerlock on Patterson. Patterson gets to the ropes to break the hold. They lock up again. Patterson with a side headlock. DeNucci reverses it into a wrist lock. Patterson reverses that into a hammerlock. DeNucci tries a rollout. Patterson blocks it. They get to a corner and then break. Patterson with a big right hand. They lock up again and back to the ropes. Patterson breaks and hits DeNucci with another right hand. DeNucci comes out after Patterson, who backs away to the ropes to avoid trying to get hit. Patterson goes outside on the apron. He then gets back in the ring. They lock up again. DeNucci with an arm drag. They both get back up. They lock back up and Patterson with a knee to the stomach. DeNucci goes towards the ropes and Patterson hits him with another shot to the ribs. DeNucci back in a corner and Patterson hitting him with a series of right hands. He then gets DeNucci in the front face lock. DeNucci threatens a low blow to Patterson, but doesn't do it. DeNucci lifts Patterson up and puts him on the top rope. DeNucci goes to hit Patterson, but takes too long, and Patterson kicks him and comes off the rope with some punches. Patterson with a series of forearms to DeNucci, then a knee to DeNucci's face. DeNucci back to a corner and Patterson moves in with a shot, but Patterson hits him with a headbutt. They lock up and drive to another corner. DeNucci with a right to Patterson. DeNucci with a corner whip, and Patterson hits hard and falls to the mat. DeNucci grabs Patterson by the legs. He kicks him in the thigh and gets a spinning toe hold on. He hooks the leg down some and gets a 2 count. Patterson trying to fight through the pain. DeNucci with another 2 count, and Patterson reaches up and grabs DeNucci's nose. He then punches DeNucci's nose as he gets back to his feet. Patterson then knees DeNucci in the face. He is kicking and punching DeNucci and running his knee into DeNucci's back. DeNucci firing up. He punches Patterson in the midsection, then makes it back to his feet and goes after Patterson. DeNucci with a punch to Patterson, and then an Irish whip by DeNucci and gets Patterson up in an airplane spin. He then drops Patterson to the canvas and gets a 2 count. DeNucci with a shot and a side headlock. DeNucci with another Irish whip and a roll up and gets another 2 count. DeNucci off of the ropes and goes for another roll up, but Patterson continues to roll through and gets the pin to retain the title. DeNucci unsure of what happened and can't believe that he has been pinned. Patterson leaves and the referee has to yell at him to stop so that he can give Patterson the Intercontinental title. WWF Junior Heavyweight Championship match. Tatsumi Fujinami versus Johnny Rivera. The referee checks both men. The bell rings. They shake hands and circle each other. They lock up and shove off. They circle each other again and lock up again. Fujinami with a side headlock. Rivera pushes off. Fujinami comes back with a shoulder block. Fujinami comes off the ropes and Rivera catches him with a hip lock. Then Rivera off the ropes and Fujinami with a hip lock. Fujinami with an arm drag and Rivera with a head scissors, and both men get back to their feet. The crowd applauds the exchange. They shake hands again and circle each other. They lock up and Fujinami with a waist lock. Rivera with a reversal. Fujinami with an arm lock. Rivera reverses Fujinami with an armbar takedown. Fujinami with an armbar. Rivera nips up back to his feet and arm drags Fujinami over. Gets a 1 count. Then another 1 count, but can't keep the shoulder down. Another 1 count and Fujinami reverses into a front face lock. Fujinami tries to hook his hands and shoves Rivera back into the ropes, and they break. The crowd applauds again. They lock up, and Rivera with a fireman's carry takeover and into an armbar on Fujinami. Fujinami gets back to his feet and takes Rivera down with the leg, but Rivera holds onto the armbar. Fujinami gets back to his feet again and does another takedown, and Rivera again holds onto the armbar. He gets a 1 count. Fujinami gets back to his feet and they drive to the ropes to break the hold. Clean break and another round of applause by the crowd. Another lockup and Fujinami with a side headlock into a hammerlock. He then scoops the legs and gets Rivera into a bow and arrow, back into a scorpion deathlock. Rivera with a reversal and into an armbar on Fujinami. Rivera into a front face lock on Fujinami, into a back slide on Fujinami. Gets a 2 count, but Fujinami flips out of the move and gets Rivera into a front face lock, and they get up in the ropes. They break. Another handshake between the two men. They circle each other again and go for a test of strength. Fujinami goes down to his back. He spins Rivera around into a sunset flip like pin and gets a 1 count. They circle each other again. They lock up and Fujinami with a takedown into a leg lock on Rivera. Fujinami then hyperextends the leg and goes to a front face lock. He then hooks the leg of Rivera and takes him over. Rivera with a head scissors. Rivera hooks the arm with his legs. Fujinami makes it back up to one leg. Rivera keeps the move on and drives Fujinami back down to the mat. Fujinami trying to stay off his back and pounding the mat to fight through the pain. Rivera lifts up and does a takeover of Fujinami with his legs. Both men back to their feet and they lock up and do a test of strength. Rivera forces Fujinami down. Fujinami powers back to a vertical base. Rivera down and he powers back to a vertical base. Fujinami grabs a leg and gets a takedown. He gets a 1 count. Fujinami cranks on the hold and Rivera grabs Fujinami by the back of the neck. Fujinami with a step over working on the leg of Rivera. Rivera hooks the other leg and rolls over into a pinning predicament. He gets a 1 count. Then a 2 count, but Fujinami bridges out of the move. He spins Rivera over and gets a 2 count. Rivera with another counter into a 2 count. Gets another 1 count, and Rivera trying to force Fujinami's shoulders down to the mat, but Fujinami fighting it. Rivera then gets the legs and spins around and gets another 1 count, but can't get the shoulders down for a 3 count. They circle each other again. They lock up and Rivera with a side headlock. Fujinami pushes off. Rivera comes back with a shoulder block. Rivera off the ropes. Fujinami with a leapfrog and a roll. Fujinami off the ropes and Rivera with a leapfrog. Fujinami cartwheels out of the way. Fujinami with a forearm and a European uppercut. Fujinami with a corner whip. Rivera comes back with a reverse crossbody off of the second rope. He gets a 2 count. Rivera with a suplex. Gets another 2 count. Rivera with a waist lock. Fujinami reverses it into a waist lock of his own. He bridges into a German suplex to get the pin. A really good match. They shake hands and hug after the match. WWF Tag Team Championship match. Ivan Putski and Tito Santana versus Victor Rivera and Swede Hansen. Rivera and Putski start. The bell rings and they lock up. Test of strength. Putski pushes off. Putski with an arm drag. Then another arm drag. Another lock up and drive back to the corner. Hansen tagged in. Rivera hits Putski with a couple of shots before getting out. Hansen with a couple of shots and a side headlock takeover. Putski gets back to his feet. Hansen still has the side headlock on. Putski powering out of the hold. Putski with an elbow to the midsection to break the hold. Then Putski with a side headlock and a shot to Hansen's face. Hansen shaken up. They circle each other again. They lock up. Putski with a side headlock. Putski with a punch to the face to knock Hansen down. He then stomps Hansen on the mat. Putski with a side headlock and tags Santana in. He drives Hansen headfirst into the mat. He then repeatedly drives his head in. He gets a 2 count. Hansen back up and Santana with a side headlock. Hansen pushes off and hits Santana with a knee to the midsection. Rivera tagged in. He runs Santana into the corner turnbuckle. Rivera with punches to Santana's midsection while he is on the ropes. Rivera with an Irish whip and a backdrop. Rivera then stomps Santana. He then whips Santana into Hansen's boot. Hansen tagged in. He hits Santana with several chops. Santana comes back with a shot. They go back and forth. Hansen with a knee to the stomach. Rivera tagged back in. Rivera with a forearm. Santana comes back with a forearm of his own. They trade shots. Santana run into Hansen's knee. Hansen tagged back in. Hansen with a series of forearms to Santana's head. Then a knee to Santana, who has gone down to his knees. Santana coming back with right hands to Hansen. Rivera tagged in. Rivera with a snap mare. He then stomps Santana. Rivera with an elbow to Santana's head. Santana trying to come back. Hansen tagged back in. Hansen with an Irish whip and a kick to Santana's midsection. Hansen drops a knee. Then another knee. Hansen runs Santana into Rivera's boot. Rivera tagged in. Rivera with a suplex. Gets a 2 count. Santana run into Hansen's knee. Hansen tagged in. Santana coming back with punches. He crawls through Hansen's legs and tags Putski in. He unloads on Hansen. He runs Hansen into Rivera, who has come in, and knocks Rivera out of the ring. Santana tagged in and Putski with an Irish whip. Putski hits the Polish hammer, and Santana hits a flying body press to get the pin. The crowd loves it. Vince McMahon shows a replay of the finish of the match and signs off from MSG. Final thoughts. An interesting look at this period in WWF history with Vince McMahon as a straight-down-the-middle announcer. This is worth it for the junior heavyweight match. It's just a fantastic match. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TheJoeyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. I would really appreciate it. Thank you for joining me this week. This is Joey saying so long from stately Maine Manor.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.